Yo everyone, before the video begins, just wanted to let you know I'll be co-streaming every single day of the Midseason Madness on my YouTube channel, starting at 9 PM EST on all of those days. If you want to hang out with me and with chat and react to the games in live time together, definitely consider stopping by the stream. Thanks for your attention, and now on to the video. 19 franchises went into April aspiring to build their legacy and play in the first ever global Korean LAN event, but only 6 ended up making the cut, and now these 6 fight to the death with $500,000 on the line. But more importantly, no matter the winner, someone's about to get their first official regular season tournament victory in franchise history. Needless to say, there is a lot riding on this upcoming weekend. Small tournament or not, history is about to be made, and we'll surely remember it for the rest of time. The only question now is, who takes it home? Let's meet our participants. Atlanta Reign. Yeah, no one's surprised to see you here. You were literally one of the favorites before the season even began. But I'll be damned, because the Reign have managed to take it a step further. They don't just have the best record in the league. I mean, they practically made their way to Korea on a luxury cruise ship. When you have a 8-0 record with just 2 map losses to your names in one of the best metas possible for your group, there's really no denying that you're probably the best team. So far, absolutely no one has made them sweat, and it's very difficult to see that changing, at least on paper. Lip's just the clear-cut MVP frontrunner. How on earth do you stop this guy? He's the best player in the league right now, in the midst of a Sombra meta where absolutely nobody can touch him. I don't think people understand just how big of a deal this is. This is a crazy Sombra gap of epic proportions. Lip blows everything wide open, and him alone gives the Reign this overwhelming advantage. But then you're adding in a flex DPS partner like Stalker, who's pretty much been just as reliable across numerous heroes, and you're left with this dynamic duo that just might break the Overwatch League. And the fact that they've possibly gotten the best support tandem in the league on top of it is plain ridiculous. How can you lose if you're Atlanta Reign? They're basically the ones who have set the tone for this meta. Everybody is following their lead. Atlanta are most definitely the tournament favorites, and no one can help but wonder if anyone even stands a chance. Soul Infernal. Ah yes, a common challenger steps back up to the tournament plate, so to speak. Inferno may go by a different name these days, but the spirit of Philly lives on forever. You don't need me to explain it, do you? It's your 14th rodeo at this point. Your 14th attempt to break a curse. Can you actually get the job done? Well, from a surface level understanding, this might be the best opportunity they have had in years. Soul Inferno were by far the best team in the East during the spring stage. Led by the consistency of Zest and MN3, Inferno have become one of the most dangerous teams in the Overwatch League. The 2022 rookie sensations have taken their game to the next level, and this time they've got backup. They took a chance on Skewed during the offseason, and look what this guy has become. Arguably the most reliable starter in the entirety of the East, consistently making these ridiculous Ana plays that you would have never seen if he was still on LA Gladiators. This guy right now is firmly engraved into the MVP conversation. And Skew's not the only one being a difference maker, cause Mag has also taken a big time leap. The bust of the Washington Justice finally got some backline help, and now all of a sudden he is fulfilling his true potential. Mag has become one of the better tanks in the Overwatch League, boasting a deep hero pool and some crazy clutches whenever his team needs him most. Soul Inferno finally have the core they needed. The only question is, do they have enough? Can they erase that West is greater than East narrative that's been building? And more importantly, can they actually avoid the Philly curse this time? As exciting as Inferno are this year, that is a lot to ask for. But then again, they played well here last year, and they're also much improved since then, so I guess you never know. Expectations aren't super high, but that may be exactly what they need to finally break the mold. Houston Outlaws. You know, if it weren't for a certain red team from Georgia, Houston would be the talk of the town. The Outlaws have absolutely crushed the first half of this year. They've completely delivered on their massive expectations as one of the league's top super teams. The crazy roster they assembled has gotten along great, and it's gotten to the point where they're largely considered the second best team in the league. Despite maybe playing some of their comfort picks that nobody else would really go for, the Houston Outlaws have looked extremely comfortable and very efficient in the current meta. Everywhere you look, there is superstar talent and potential MVPs. Pelican has become an Outlaws staple, this year showing that he can indeed be one of the better tracers in the game. And if it's not him doing it, it's likely that ridiculous backline, as Shu and Violet might be the greatest playmaking support line we have ever known. It's like Houston have 4 DPS at all times. And just to make the Outlaws even crazier, they're probably the clear-cut second best Sombra team in the league. There's not much that needs to be said aside from that. I mean, they're just so well set up for success right now. And more importantly, they're comprised of those veterans who are pretty used to these exact kinds of environments. Outlaws genuinely might be one of the least affected teams by LAN just knowing their history. And it's because of how Outlaws played, along with their amazing ceiling, that has them as one of the favorites to win this entire thing. And genuinely, they might be the only team with a real shot of beating Atlanta Reign. Just knowing what they're capable of, I'd say that anything less than second would be a disappointment. Please just do me one solid, Houston. If you're not going to get second or first, please at the very least do not have an early exit in this thing. Your fans have already had more than enough of those in the past, and this year in particular would be really embarrassing. Hangzhou Spark. Welcome back to the Midseason Madness, boys. Things looked a little shaky for you at the start, but you've managed to finally come into your own, and you have found the solution to your problems. What is that solution, you may ask? Screw the meta. The less Sombra the Spark have to see, the better. We ain't playing that nonsense full time. It's time to let Shy off of his leash. Let him play the hit scan, let him play the Hanzo, and look what happens. Shy and Leave immediately realized their true potential as a duo and have become one of the most lethal DPS lines in the entire game. But luckily for Spark, I'd say that their problems have extended past DPS with this type of ideology. They realized how poorly things were going for them when they weren't playing Monkey, so they said, Gushwei, get in there full time and just do your thing. It's the classic RUI coaching approach. Mind your own business and do your own thing. They'll live and die by this mindset, but in this situation, with how they're playing right now, it just might be a good thing. The Spark may be hot and cold, but they're set up well for high stakes like this. And considering the last few tournaments and how those have gone for these guys, you can make a strong argument that the Spark are prone to be one of the biggest dark horses in this entire tournament. The thing is, though, I think that this one's going to be a lot tougher compared to what we saw last year. The Spark are unfortunately very one-dimensional. They can play one, maybe two things very well, and they're not a Sombra team. It's basically comfort picks or bust with this group. And if the Spark want to go far, this is something they have to figure out because meta diversity is at an all-time high. Otherwise, I fear that it may be an early exit for the boys in pink. Florida Mayhem. Well. Look who made it here in the end. The individual improvements plus 2 critical offseason acquisitions have the Florida Mayhem locked and loaded to make quite possibly their best tournament run ever. Things were a little rough in the knockout stage for them, but they made it here, and that's all that matters for them. Especially because if you take away what happened with LA Gladiators, Florida have been a tough team to crack. If you're standing up to the likes of Houston Outlaws, then you're probably worth paying attention to. The Mayhem are absolutely stacked. Consistent DPS play, one of the most versatile tanks in the game, and perhaps the most underrated support line in the league. They've got everything you're looking for. I'm a big fan of what they're doing over there with this roster. None of their guys truly hold them back. It feels like one collective effort, meaning that any of them can make you pay on any given day. They are a complete team, and a lot of the time, those are the ones that tend to scare you the most. And the relief of overcoming the LA Gladiator demon, so to speak, should have them riding a huge wave of confidence that just might see them make the finals. But if Florida want to get there, then some improvements most certainly need to happen. Mayhem rely far too much on those Winston comps to win games. It's created a way to get exposed on any good rush map. The execution has to get cleaner on both the Ramatra May as well as Merit's Sombra. If they're getting outplayed just through comfort and decision making alone, it's not going to look good for them. The version of the Mayhem we get might depend on the day. We've seen what they can do at their peak. They can be a serious contender. It's just a matter of if they can get there consistently against high-level competition like this. And for that reason, I would say that the Mayhem are definitely worth watching closely. Boston Uprising. They might be the lowest seed in the tournament by number, but they're far from the weakest. We've talked about certain teams getting hot when it really matters, but Boston take the cake. From getting boomed and 3-0 to Vancouver to making Korea. The last few weeks have seen the Boston Uprising undergo a terrifying transformation. They've escaped the wrath of Coach Jidset and are as happy as can be. And amongst this change, Twilight has become arguably the best Ana in the game again. Just an absolute game changer that is giving Boston a constant edge. This guy can do literally everything. He can kill your DPS, make the big plays by himself, go on these unhinged angles. He is doing everything to make Boston a contender right now. And that's on top of the crazy stuff that Decay's literally been doing since opening day. And that's just the consistent playmaking standouts, right? We cannot forget about the fact that the rest of this roster is literally born for this. A team of this much championship DNA in a big tournament is a scary thought. Boston look absolutely locked in with how they've played recently. Getting hot at the right time has played a major role in crowning a bunch of previous champions, and Boston might be next on the list. Sometimes it's not about how you start, but how you finish. Boston have shown immense potential, so much that they genuinely might end up making the finals. If they don't get knocked out early, I think they're going to be a major problem. They can play Sombra, they have solo carries, they have curveball strats. The only worry at this point for Boston Uprising is their momentum. If that carries over like it has, then I think they're going to be absolutely fine. But if it ends up dying off or their carries can't do what we've seen them do, then I'm a little worried it's about to all come crumbling down. How Boston play is going to be a major decider in what happens leading up to the finals. This is the best team Boston has ever fielded. Do not let us down. And those are your 6 competitors. If I were to rank them by likelihood of winning, it's basically just Atlanta, then everybody else. The final outcome feels very predictable. But when that happens is usually when our brackets end up going up in flames. The question is, who do I jinx this time? Yeah, nothing spicy from me. Reign leave this group of losers behind and join that first place club. I'm sorry to be boring, folks, but Atlanta Reign has by far been the best team this year. Some might argue that they're actually overdue for a loss, or that LAN could activate their nerves, but when you are this dominant, I think it's a statement that is very hard to make a case against. The Reign are such a complete team, and Sombra-heavy metas like this make Lip way too powerful. There is not a single team in the league who can hope to match Atlanta on this comp consistently, and even if you do, the Reign have shown to be masters of mid-game adaptation so far. It takes a special kind of team to combat this, and I'm just not convinced that anybody has it in them. Atlanta could sadly be the gatekeeper who keeps this from being totally unpredictable, but that doesn't mean that the rest of the tournament can't be spicy. And my spice is going to come through the lower bracket. There's been a lot of APAC doubt this year. Too much for my liking, even if I think a lot of it is justified, which is why deep down I believe that either Spark or Inferno are making a lower bracket run. I don't have any real evidence to back up this claim, and it's probably a long shot, but it's just a feeling. Spark and Inferno were part of the weaker region last year, and look how they did whenever regional tournaments came up. These teams have shown that they are more than capable of throwing off the West. It's 3 days with little prep time for just about everyone. Anything can happen. My other hot take, I guess, is that I think Boston are going to go out somewhat early. And my reasoning behind that is they've had this habit of sometimes playing down to their competition. Look at what happened when they almost lost to the Justice in the knockouts, you know? They're in prime position to have one of these inconsistencies rear their ugly heads at the worst possible moment. I can't shake this feeling they're going to have this devastating loss to Outlaws, and then it's all going to go way downhill. Aside from that, I think that in general, the push for second place is wide open, especially if Boston end up like beating Houston, let's say. I personally went the boring route and said that Houston make finals, but I could honestly see either Boston or Florida making that push as well. Regardless of the outcome, I am expecting some exceptional Overwatch this week. I have a good feeling, especially about some of these early games, and we're set to have some pretty interesting storylines and potential rivalries in the making. And if you're excited for mid-season madness, definitely give this video a like, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and leave some predictions of your own down in the comments below. And until next time, this is ATP, signing out. Peace.